Hello everybody and welcome back to The Lost Planeswalker. You're here with me, Jesse, The Lost Planeswalker, and today we're going to go over this double strike deck that I made and called Double Trouble. Starting off, this deck is 100 cards and Commander Legal. We have $126 minus the basic lands, and the salt sum is right below the average at 27.32. Now, let's look at this commander. Starting off, we have Rayav, Master Smith, red and a white, legendary creature, Dwarf Artificer. Whenever a creature you control is enchanted or equipped attacks, that creature gains double strike until the end of the turn. This is a really cool card because we're going to be able to get some really nice creatures with trample and whatnot and equip them with enchantments or equipment and give them double strike. So let's start off by looking at some of that equipment with the artifacts. We have quite a few artifacts with 19 because there's a lot of them and they're going to be very helpful to us. Starting off, we got some of the basics. We got Arcane Signet, Commander Sphere, Soul Ring, all that sort of stuff. So let's dive in. Blackblade Reforged, 2 mana, legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control. Equipped to a legendary creature, costs 3, or regular equip, costs 7. Colossus Hammer, 1 mana, artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +10/+10 and loses flying. Equipped for 8, very pricey but very powerful. Gold Vein Pick, 2 generic mana, artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Equipped for 1. This can help us with some land fixing and be able to cast more spells. Haunted Cloak, 3 mana, artifact equipment. Equipped creature has vigilance, trample, and haste. Equipped for 1. With double strike, trample is going to be very powerful. We're going to be able to keep that big blocker up and block our opponent's creatures. Hero's Blade, 2 generic mana, artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+2. Whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach Hero's Blade to it. Equipped for 4. We have a lot of legendary creatures, and this is going to be a great equipment to use with them. Lightning Greaves, 2 generic mana, artifact equipment. Equipped creature has haste and shroud. Equipped for 0. We can use this on our commander to keep our opponents from killing it. Luxodon Warhammer, 3 generic mana, artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+3, has trample and lifelink. This is going to be a great way to gain a lot of life. Mask of Memory, 2 generic mana, artifact equipment. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw 2 cards. If you do, discard a card. Nettle Cyst, 3 generic, artifact equipment, living weapon. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. Equipped for 2, we have a lot of enchantments and a lot of artifacts in this deck. Rogue's Gloves, 2 mana, artifact equipment. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Equipped for 2. Next, we have Shadow Spear, legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, has trample and lifelink. 1 generic mana, permanents your opponent's control, lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Equipped for 2. A very powerful artifact and very helpful in our deck. Next, we got Soul Ring. You know the deal. Tap for 2 mana. Sunforger, 3 mana. Equipped creature gets +4/+0. Red and white, untouched Sunforger. Search your library for a red or white instant card with converted mana cost 4 or less, and cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then shuffle your library. Equipped for 3. Swiftfoot Boots, 2 mana, artifact equipment. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste. Equipped for 1. Sword of Hearth and Home, 3 generic mana, artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from green and white. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, exile up to 1 target creature you own, then search your library for a basic land card. Put both onto the battlefield under your control, then shuffle. Sword of Vengeance, 3 generic, artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has first strike, vigilance, trample, and haste. Equipped for 3. And finally, Sword of the Animist, 2 generic mana, legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Whenever equipped creature attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Equipped for 2. With that out of the way, let's look at some of those cool creatures that are in this deck. Starting off, we have Akiri, Fearless Voyager, 1 red-white, legendary creature, Core Warrior. Whenever you attack a player with 1 or more equipped creatures, draw a card. White mana, you may unattach an equipment from a creature you control. If you do, tap that creature, and it gains indestructible until end of turn. A great way to save your creatures if they're going to die in combat. Arden, Intrepid Archaeologist, 2 and a white, legendary creature, Core Scout. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may attach any number of auras and equipment you control to a target permanent. Partner. This is a great card, and we're going to take really good advantage of it. Armored Sky Hunter, 3 and a white. Creature, Cat Knight, flying. Whenever Armored Sky Hunter attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library, and you may put an aura or equipment card from among them onto the battlefield. If an equipment is put onto the battlefield this way, you may attach it to a creature you control. Put the rest of those cards on the bottom of your library in a random order. Astro, Bearer of Blades. 2 red, white. Legendary creature, Human Warrior. Whenever Astro, Bearer of Blades enters the battlefield, look at the top 7 cards of your library, and you may reveal an equipment or vehicle card from among them, and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Equipment you control have Equip 1. Vehicles you control have Crew 1. Brenner, Battlehammer. 2 red, white. Legendary creature, Dwarf Warrior. Each creature you control gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it. You may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost for the first equip ability you activate each turn. This can be very good and very helpful in this deck. Champion of the Flame, 1 in a red. Creature, Human Warrior. Trample. Champion of the Flame gets +2/+2 for each aura and equipment attached to it. This card is going to synergize really well with our strategy. Next, we have Danitha, Karpazan, Paragon. 2 in a white. Legendary creature, Human Knight. First strike, Vigilance, Lifelink. Or an equipment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Danitha, Bernalia's Hope. 4 in a white. Legendary creature, Human Knight. First strike, Vigilance, Lifelink. When Danitha, Bernalia's Hope enters the battlefield, you may put an aura or equipment card from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield attached to Danitha. Foundry Inspector. 3 generic mana, artifact creature, construct. Artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. This is really going to help us out. Kurzul's Toll Collector. 2 in a red. Creature, Ogre Warrior. 0. Attach target equipment you control to Kurzul Tool Collector. Activate this ability only anytime you would cast a sorcery. We're going to be able to equip a lot of equipment to this guy. Null the Forge Master. Red, white. Legendary creature, Dwarf Warrior. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, return it to its owner's hand. Creature tokens you control that are enchanted or equipped get +1/+1. Lion Sash. 1 in a white. Artifact creature, equipment cat. Exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a permanent card, put a +1/+1 counter on Lion Sash. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each +1/+1 counter on Lion Sash. Reconfigure for 2. Lizard Blades. 1 in a red. Artifact creature, equipment lizard. Double strike. Equipped creature has double strike. Reconfigure for 2. Audric, Lunarch Marshal. 3 in a white. Legendary creature, Human Soldier. At the beginning of each combat, creatures you control gain first strike until end of turn. If a creature you control has first strike, the same is true for flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. This is going to take all those abilities on our other creatures and give them to every other creature we control. This is a great card. Professional Facebreaker, 2 in a red. Creature, Human Warrior. Menace. When one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to player, create a treasure token. Sacrifice a treasure. Exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. Pure Steel Paladin. White, white. Creature, Human Knight. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. Metalcraft. Equipment you control have Equip 0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. Rabbit Battery. Red. Artifact creature, equipment Rabbit. Haste. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has haste. Reconfigure for 1 red. Solemn Simulacrum. 4 mana, artifact creature Golem. When Solemn Simulacrum enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land. Put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. When Solemn dies, you may draw a card. There's not very many ways to get card draw and land drops in these colors, so that's why Solemn's in here. Sun Titan. 4 white, white. Creature Giant. Vigilance. Whenever Sun Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, you may return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is going to help us get some of those spells that were either countered or destroyed back onto our battlefield. Tiana, Ship's Caretaker. 3 red, white. Legendary creature, Angel Artificer. Flying, first strike. Whenever an aura or equipment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may return that card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. This is going to help save our aura and equipment spells from going to the graveyard and going back into our hand. Relith, Soul of Steel. 1 red, white. Legendary creature, Human Warrior. Trample. When Relith Soul of Steel attacks, draw a card for each aura equipment attached to it. This seems like a very powerful card in this deck. Now, let's look at those enchantments I included in this deck. There's a good number of enchantments as well because that's how our commander triggers. All That Glitters. 1 in a white, enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. That seems pretty powerful in this deck. Angelic Destiny. 2 white, white. Enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +4/+4 and has flying and first strike, and is an angel addition to its other types. When enchanted creature dies, return Angelic Destiny to its owner's hand. This is a great way to give some of our creatures flying and buff them up. Angelic Gift. 1 and a white. Enchant creature. When Angelic Gift enters battlefield, draw a card. Enchanted creature has flying. Celestial Mantle. 3 white, white, white. Enchantment Aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3. Whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, double that controller's life total. This is especially good because double strike means we're going to hit them twice and double our damage twice. Curse of Bloodletting. 3 red, red. Enchantment Aura Curse. Enchant player. If a source would deal damage to enchanted player, it deals double that damage to that player instead. Now our double strike turns into quad strike. Ethereal Armor. White. Enchant Aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control and has first strike. Well, there's plenty of them in this deck, so we're going to make a creature really large. Fighter class. Red, white. When fighter class enters battlefield, search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Level 2. 1 red, white. Equip abilities you activate cost 2 less to activate. In level 3. 3 red, white. Whenever a creature you control attacks, up to 1 target creature blocks it, this combat if able. Gift of Immortality. 2 and a white. Enchant Aura. Enchant creature. When enchanted creature dies, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Return Gift of Immortality to the battlefield attached to that creature at the beginning of the next end step. You're not getting rid of our creatures that easily. Shielded by Faith. 1 white, white. Enchantment Aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has indestructible. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you may attach Shield of Faith to that creature. Sigarda's Aid. Singular white. Enchantment. You may cast aura and equipment spells as though they had flash. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach it to a target creature you control. This is going to be very powerful and very good in our deck. Spirit Link. Singular white. Enchant Aura. Enchant creature. Whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage, you gain that much life. This should help us gain a lot of life. Spirit Mantle. 1 and a white. Enchantment Aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has protection from creatures. This is going to make it so our opponents can't block us. Sticky Fingers. Singular red. Enchantment Aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has menace, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. When enchanted creature dies, draw a card. This is such a great card, and one of my favorite cards out of New Capenna. Timely Ward. 2 and a white. Enchant Aura. You may cast a spell as though it had flash if it targets a commander. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has indestructible. If our opponent's trying to kill our creature, well, Timely Ward has got our back. Unquestionable Authority. 2 and a white. Enchantment Aura. Enchant creature. When Unquestionable Authority enters battlefield, draw a card. Enchanted creature has protection from creatures. Now, let's dive into some of those instants. We only got a couple instants in this deck because we're not really focusing on them, but I think these are good ones to have. Boros Charm. Red and a white. Instant. Choose one. Boros Charm deals 4 damage to target player or planeswalker. Permanents you control gain indestructible until end of turn, and target creature gains double strike until end of turn. I think any of those modes is going to be very powerful in this deck. Chaos Warp. 2 and a red. Instant. The owner of target permanent shuffles it into its library, then reveals the top card of the library. If it's a permanent card, they put it onto the battlefield. Path to Exile. Singular white. Instant. Exile target creature. Its controller may search your library for a basic land. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Return to Dust. 2 white, white. Instant. Exile target artifact or enchantment. If you cast a spell during your main phase, you may exile up to 1 other artifact or enchantment. This is one of the only ways to get rid of artifacts or enchantments our opponent's control, so we should keep it handy. Swords of Plowshares. Singular white. Instant. Exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. And then we have Wear and Tear. Wear. Instant. Destroy target artifact. Tear. Destroy target enchantment. Pretty good spell, and I like to put it in this deck. Now let's look at lands. Yet again, the lands in this deck are pretty simple. We have Command Tower, Mountains, and Plains. Honestly, if you want to upgrade your land base, please feel free. But I think this is really all you need for this deck to be good. And finally, we have our last and only sorcery. Open the Armory. 1 and a white. Sorcery. Search your library for an aura or equipment card. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. There weren't too many sorceries I was really interested in, but I think this is a good one. So now, let's take a look at some of those stats. Now, our land base is pretty even. I like to keep it even, especially in decks like this, because because I would hate to not be able to get a color that we need. And we have a little bit more white than red pips, but we have a pretty low mana curve. You can see our highest cost card is 6 and average of 2.65. That seems pretty good to me. I like the sound of that. And we got some interesting stuff. We got a lot of humans and a lot of warriors, obviously with double strike. And yeah, so here's our only 2 tokens. We got that Phyrexian Germ and a treasure token. So that's it. I hope you like Double Trouble. I think that this was a really interesting deck build. I've never built a Boros deck before, but this seems very powerful. It's very creature, artifact heavy, you know. You might learn how to mulligan a little bit differently with this deck because, yeah, you want to have some creatures, but you also want to have some artifacts, and your commander is also only 2 mana, so it's going to be pretty easy to cast. So, yeah. But thank you for watching. I really appreciate this. If you like it, please consider subscribing. I do these every week. I do all kind of content. This Friday, I'm going to be posting a video about my friends playing some Pauper. You know, we're going to start a Pauper tournament. This kind of little predecessor to that, kind of getting a feel of how these decks work. And yeah, so if you want to check that out, please stay tuned for Friday. If you like this, please leave a comment and a like down below. It would really help me out. And that's it. So, as always, I'll see you later, Planeswalkers.